We are on Pensacola NAS in Pensacola, Florida. It's probably the oldest naval air station, I believe, in America. And it's definitely the home of the Blue Angels, as you see behind me. And I think they're flying off in the distance right here. But if you've never, well, I'm sure you visited different museums, different aviation type. This is one of the best I've ever been to. And they take you through the history from the biplanes to every era of war that we've had, from Korean, Vietnam, World War II. They even have space in here, and they have exhibits showing how they lived during those times, maybe on some of the islands. And they have an amazing IMAX theater, and that changes out periodically with different shows. They have the Blue Angel show, which it's like you're right in it, and it gives you a thrill. And the Blue Angels are stationed literally just right back over here, a few hundred yards, and you have a good chance, if you time it right and look up the times, you can hear them and even see them practicing right here daily. So let's go in and take a look.
Welcome to Exploring the Emerald Coast, your ultimate guide to living the Emerald Coast lifestyle.
We're Jeff and Paula Snow, local realtors with a passion for everything that makes this coastal paradise special.
From hidden gems and stunning beaches to the best dining spots, we'll give you an inside look at what life is like on the Emerald Coast.
So whether you're a local, a visitor, or dreaming of making this your home, join us as we explore the beauty and charm of the Emerald Coast.
Special thanks to our sponsor, John Scapin with Primary Residential Mortgage. If you're ready to buy or sell your home, let John and our team guide you through every step. With our expertise, we'll make sure your real estate journey is smooth and successful.
All right, now we're inside, and just want to give you some information that's very important. So you can only enter the base through the west gate, and that's coming down Blue Angel Parkway in Pensacola, and it will take you right into the base. If you're not from this country, as some of our families found out, you have to have your passport with you and your IDs. So make sure you bring a passport, but you definitely need your ID. You tell them you're going to the museum. And there's also the tallest lighthouse that was built in 1859. That's just almost across the street, and you can visit that. There's a small charge to go in for that for everyone, but it's 177 steps, and we'll go visit that in a few minutes also. But this is the spirit of Naval Aviation here, the theater for the IMAX. And they do check you for bags, so just letting you know all the little things. All right, so on the entrance, it's really cool. We're on top of an aircraft carrier, they made it look like. This is your station where they're watching the airplanes come in. Definitely where the catapult is for launching aircraft and for bringing aircraft. And here comes one right now, by the way. F-18 Hornet. All right, now we're in one of the sections. It's World War I area. We had a lot of biplanes, and they're really more sophisticated than a lot of us realize. Back then, they're landing on the water and taking off from the water in an open airplane, almost like the Wright brothers. Of course, these are not quite the age of the Wright brothers, but this kind of gives you a scene of where they'd be at, and an exhibit of some of the lifestyle of working on one right out in the field. And just to give you a little info, I worked on aircraft for the Navy for 36 years on training helicopter pilots on a helo, and we'll see one of those in the future. But this is kind of how it was in World War I. In a typical setup machine shop, they're building it, working on it right there out in the field. So we'll go around, we'll see a few more biplanes. This is maybe where they're talking about their flight plan for the day and what their mission's going to be for that day, and definitely all the safety features that they need to talk about, keeping everybody safe and bringing everybody back home each and every day. And that large biplane is the first one to cross the Atlantic. And it's massive. It's probably hard to see a little bit in the video, but this plane is huge. And they give tours here for students, aviation students that are here, and for everyone. So you can always pick up a tour, I recommend, and they'll last about an hour, which is really good. Now we're at the P-40 Tomahawk, famous airplane that helped us in the war during World War II, fighting the Japanese Zeros. It's called the Flying Tigers, was one of the outfits here, and they were very famous and very instrumental in being successful during World War II. And one of my favorite paint jobs, by the way. Now this is the B-25 Mitchell. This is one of the most historic aircraft for the U.S. In World War II. If you ever heard of Doolittle Raid, which was actually where Japan never thought we could reach Japan by air. But because of our fighter planes couldn't go that far on fuel. So they basically transitioned a mid-range bomber, which is a B-25, and Doolittle trained actually just east of here in Fort Walton Beach at Eglin Air Force Base for that mission. And they took off with about 650 miles to reach Japan to target a lot of their industrial and any sites that were very important strategically. So when that happened, that put Japan on notice that the Americans could reach them. And it made them very, very nervous. And we know what later in the future, dropping the atom bomb. But also what happened with this, to show you how great our World War II fighting pilots were, they volunteered for this mission. There was enough gas to get there, but there wasn't enough to get back. And remarkably, I'm not quite sure on the number, but I think it was just 1 or 2 of the aircraft were lost, where they lost their crews. But the rest of them jetted out in Japan and were rescued, and I believe over in China is where a lot of them. But what an amazing risk that they took for our country, and today we have the freedoms we are today. So this is the F-4 Corsair, and this is probably my favorite aircraft. If you grew up in the 70s like I did, not to tell you how old I am, but they had a TV show called Bow Wow Black Sheep. And this is Pappy Boyington and all them guys, man. That's what they were on the islands fighting the Japanese with. And this aircraft definitely helped change the course of World War II and keep us a great, safe nation that we are today. But you got a gray one here, gray and white, and then we have the typical blue over here. And depending where they're at, they have different paint schemes. And I just get all excited about this aircraft. It's kind of like a Lamborghini to me in old days, but definitely knew what they were doing. And they were on the islands out there. They'd set up shop, they'd work on them, build them, they'd fabricate everything. You can see right here. It's and actually my beautiful camera person, Paula, her Lincoln is a Corsair. And that's kind of where the name, I believe, came from also. It's a very famous one. It's got neat angles on it. It's a piece of art. And it's a serious machine to fight war in back in World War II. So, okay, and we got the Corsairs set up here and a couple other aircraft on the flight deck replica of the aircraft carrier, and that would be where the captain and all of them are watching the flights, directing flight launching and of the day and returning aircraft. And you can see the bombs where they'd be loading them up. Kind of gives you that realistic feel here of what it looks like on that flight deck. And my dad worked the flight deck of a aircraft carrier, the Coral Sea, and there's another aircraft here that was on the Coral Sea, and we'll talk about that when we get over there. Up top here, you'll see a couple of the Marine helicopters and Navy helicopters that were used during the Korean War. Just to kind of give you an age of that. And some of these huge planes are just massive that they had that could land on the water, deliver supplies to troops and everybody else. Now you can kind of see what the size of some of the torpedoes were back in the day. And this is a MK-26 modified torpedo. So also we have the atom bomb that was dropped off the Enola Gay, not the actual bomb, but a replica of it. It's almost 11,000 pound bomb, and that definitely, I know it killed a lot of people, but it also saved so many Americans' lives. And unfortunately, we had to drop 2, but that's what ended World War II. Okay, so now we have a Corsair that has crashed, and this is Ensign Jesse Brown that it's showing here, that he was the first African American to complete naval aviation training, and which was very significant back in the 1950s. So unfortunately, he crashed in between a valley in some mountains. And unfortunately, he was trapped in his aircraft. Captain Hudner came back, flew over him. He waved to Captain Hudner to let him know he was alive. So he chose to come back and belly land on the terrain himself to go and try to save him. Unfortunately, he was not able to save Ensign Brown, but he kept him comforted while he was there, and they did work tirelessly to get him out. Even had an aircraft or helicopter crew come in and try to pry him out, and unfortunately he succumbed to his injuries. But a great American, great history here, and there's so much more. We're touching only briefly on it, but I definitely wanted to touch on Ensign Brown. He sacrificed, and he led the way for others. Also in here, in the first section of the museum, they also have a Japanese Zero. During World War II, this was our nemesis for all American fighter pilots that were going out to fight them. And there was something great to see actually here in this museum. There's also upstairs in the first part of the tour. So here you'll, not just here, but through the videos, you'll see some orange and white aircraft. That usually means it's a trainer aircraft. So what we have here up top is a TH-57 Jet Ranger, or in civilian terms, a 206. You have a T-28 back here, and I'm very familiar with these aircraft because I worked on this one for 36 years out of NAS Whiting Field, which is about 30 miles north of Whiting, or Pensacola, up at Whiting Field. So initially they used to train in the T-28. It's recently, it went to a T-34 after that, and now they're in T2s. So, but this one here, if it was coming in, I would inspect them, I'd direct them, land them, try to get out of the way when that kid's a little uneasy on the stick, scare me a little bit, but I spent a lifetime on these, and it was a great time helping serve our naval aviators, our marine aviators, Coast Guard, and even foreign pilots that would come and train at NAS Whiting Field. It's the busiest airfield in the world today, and it's not that big, but it's in Milton, Florida. So, all right, so now we are upstairs at the main area, which is a replica of the some of the earlier Blue Angels. This is an A4 Skyhawk, and of course they've been retired and they're in the museum now. And currently we have an F-18 Hornet that is has been the longest running aircraft for the Blue Angels since I think 1983. And you saw one of those in the beginning, and you might hear them later today if we get to hear them. But it's a beautiful setup here. All right, well, there's another great part to this museum. We're about to go into downtown Pensacola during World War II era. All right, well, after we eat all of our pies and cakes, we can go up to the dentist and get our teeth worked on. So, and these are how the little shops are, and some of them are still down there today of the buildings, and they've changed. This gives you a real life look of a home. And I'm definitely in need of a haircut. So, and a shoe shine would always be good. So, pawn shop if you need a little extra money, because you know when the boys come in and they get free time to go out, they're going to go out and spend their money. So, and this is actually a real motorcycle that is on loan to the museum. So a lot of items that are shown in the museum are gifted by very nice people that care about people being able to see the history. And here's your typical store. It's locked up, but you can go in and get your canned goods, got your eggs, your ham, typical little grocery store to go get your needs for your home. And you don't recognize this, but this is a gas pump. Okay, so some of the kids might not quite know. So now we're going to go into some of the live exhibits we talked about earlier when they're fighting in World War II and they're on an island, and that's where they got their little base set up, and they're working on planes, working on the Jeeps, and defending themselves a lot of times from the ground with a 50 cal right there when the Japanese are trying to bomb them. So. All right, so no hot showers back then, so they catch rainwater and put it in the barrel, and you basically pour it out of a cup or turn it on for a minute, and probably real quick, 5 seconds pre-lather, soap up, 10-second rinse. Man, you got to real quick. Yeah, cold. No, I'm not that guy. So here's kind of mail, how they communicated back and forth with the homeland, and got messages back and forth. So pretty neat area. Got a little downtime. Got your pinup girls. Got to have pinup girls on there. So of course I'd have a picture in my wallet of Paula to look at and dream of when I got home. So but play some checkers. I'm sure they had chess also. And they got a scoreboard over here also. So when they'd go out, and as they would keep count of how many zeros they shot down, and that would be the scoreboard. So, and each pilot had their number of zeros that they had shot down also. So it's great. It gives you a great atmosphere of what it felt like back then. So very realistic. For Navy aviators or ship crewmen, if the ship was going to sink, these life rafts were vital in the survival of so many back in World War I, World War II. So lots of stories of survival at sea, of what it took and the courage. And in our case, we pray about everything. So that's how we would be praying. So we honor all those that survived those stories. This is a replica of the USS Enterprise and how it would look with the different setups. This is the elevator, aircraft elevator. They bring them up, bring them back. They catch them, they take them back down, put them in. This is how it would look during World War II time with a bunch of flying tigers on it. So this is, we got a lot of lights and stuff in today's time, technology for pilots to read, but you have a call man or sight, he's a sight guy, and here's a guy waving him. He's directing which way, level up, turn left, turn right, and that pilot is fixed on him and his directions. No matter what, he's got the call because he understands exactly what's going on. He sees everything around, and he can also wave them off. And that's critical at the right time. So, and that's what these guys are doing in the back. They're backing up those front guys, giving the call of what's coming in and how many of them are coming in. So back in World War II days. All right, so now we're in the space section, which, yes, U.S. Navy had a part in space exploration. So you got Skylab from 1973 here, which you can look right inside and see those guys were laying there. And this was in 1973 when that landed. And you got Alan Shepard's. I think this is a replica. I don't think that's the real one, of course, but it wasn't that big. A lot of them today are a little bit bigger than this, but Alan Shepard played a key part in our space exploration for the U.S. and some other different types of modulars that landed. And then over here is how they train something that's really cool. After we look at the Stratolab 5, this is from 1961. So it's definitely evolved over the years. And this is the Dunker. This is where all pilots, whether space, planes, and this is an older model, but they'll drop into a pool and learn how to get out when they're dunked upside down, because you almost have vertigo and not which way is up or down. So do you know how to figure that out real quick? No. You don't know? I don't want to. You blow bubbles and see which way they go up. All right, so very cool space area here, and they have a library loaded with history of it. All right, so now we are at a Blue Angel simulator. So you can pay for tickets, you go in, and it sits you, like you would an amusement ride. But there are also other simulators that are more realistic. You almost sit in the cockpit like this right here, and you can kind of see what it was like. And they actually still train and stuff like that today. They're a little more, they got hydraulics and stuff on them, and they're pretty neat. I got to crash a couple of helicopters one time. So we're at another area that they have more simulators, so you can kind of get a little up close, max flight. And all these have a small charge to them, but definitely worth the small fee. So this here's it's actually not a plane, it's a Cobra, Marine aircraft. Usually has 50 cal sitting out the bottom, and it's a cool aircraft. One of my favorite, definitely my favorite helicopter, even though some of the new ones are really coming a long way with it. But fits two. Pilot sits back here. This is your gunner up front. So you'd think that guy might be the guy steering ship, but he's not. So,
Do you want to be the pilot or the gunner?
I'd like to trade out because guys like to blow up stuff. Okay, so we're always into blowing up stuff. So this is a great statue setup, that replica of a homecoming for a Naval Aviator. Families are always waiting for the family to land on the tarmac, and then they come running out and greeting the kids. So it really illustrates the life of a Naval Aviator and all of those that serve in the military. So now we're going into Hangar Bay 1, which is directly behind the main part of the museum. And they got some neat aircraft in here. All right, we're in Hangar Bay 1, and the first aircraft we come to is an H-3. It's a presidential helicopter, and I know it served during Eisenhower and Nixon. So the pilots that fly this, Squadron HMX-1. And so all my years training out at Whiting Field, a lot of the pilots will come back and train there. I only met one guy out of all those years from HMX-1 Squadron who flew the president. And so that's where it's a different helicopter now, but this is what they go in from, they'll fly from the Air Force Base there, Andrews, and you'll kind of see well, I think that's Nixon in there waiting on you, huh? So, here we are at the F-4 Phantom, one of the most known aircraft throughout the Navy. This is a very special aircraft. Back in the Korean War, it really transformed that war. Heavy payload it carries, very large engine. I mean, a lot of the big cars you see racing on the salt flats, they actually use that engine in the car, and that's how they go so fast. So what's so special about this aircraft to me is, if we'll walk back this way, Paula, a little bit, is this aircraft was on the USS Coral Sea. And I might get a little emotional. That's where my dad served. And he was an F-4 mechanic. And I'm checking on the squadron, but I'm pretty sure he laid his hands on this one. So that's special to me, just even being an F-4 Phantom. So just good to touch it. All right, this is an A6 Intruder. And people don't want them to see that coming down your highway fixing to bomb the target that they got placed out. So definitely Vietnam days. Remember the movie with Lou Gossett Jr. in it, where Intruder, and they have to go flying down straight down Main Street of Hanoi, and then they light it up. So very important in naval aviation history, the Intruder, and definitely one of my favorite aircraft also. All right, so we are at the EA-6B Prowler. And that basically took the place of the Intruder later in time schedule. A lot more sophistication, a lot more electronics, more precise home bombing, and they're very good at blowing up things, and we all enjoy doing that. So, all right, we're Top Gun ready now. F-18 Hornet, and they call it the MiG Killer. And it's still, I mean, even with all the stealth and everything else out now today, this aircraft is still getting it done for America when it's needed. They don't want to see these coming. So the Russians' MiGs cannot compete with this aircraft. Even the this is a C, but they have the D models out. Might even have E models out now, but incredible. So when they go, you see the movie Top Gun, the early one, which I was there for the early one, and the latest one, they have an exhibit over here about Top Gun. and that's the elite of the elite in the naval aviators. And they have a competition, I think it's out in Miramar, California. And this is a H-60 Seahawk. So now we're at the SH-60 Seahawk. I call it a H-60 is for short, and it's the most vital helo in the Navy arsenal in today's time. So they've done away with some of the older models, and this has really taken over everything. They can transport anything they need to, from supplies to service members, from land to sea, from ship to ship, and anything else that's needed. Helo, medical vac, Coast Guard uses it for search and rescue. And so you'll see a lot of these orange and white flying down your beaches, up and down your beaches. So great aircraft, and it serves a great purpose in our U.S. military. All right, Russian MiG-21. And this one's painted from the Iraqi military back in Desert Storm. And, you know, great versatile aircraft. Tough in dogfights, even with the F-18s, but where we had the advantage, they had poor visibility out of this aircraft, seeing where our F-18s were at, and that's why we were far more successful than the MiG-21. Neat aircraft. Our great U.S. Coast Guard definitely play a key part in naval aviation, and also securing our borders around our country and around our beaches. They relate to us civilians mostly, and if we're in trouble out at sea or anywhere close to the sea, they will. This is the guy you want to see show up if you're holding on to a raft, and they play a key part. We live down here, so we get to hear about it quite often. Boat turns upside down, and they went out and saved a family, and that's a great thing. So we definitely want to honor our Coast Guard and appreciate all they do for us. And here's another space exhibit in Hangar 1, and this is the lunar module about landing on the moon and planting the flag. As you see, kind of gives it realistic, which is pretty neat, because we always see it, but we don't really know how big it was. So this is a great exhibition. They have great videos going on in here to explain so many things. Here's a vehicle that they would ride around on, and video behind it. So great, neat stuff here. And this is the Paula section of NASA. Hey everyone, Jeff and Paula Snow. And on today's episode of Exploring the Emerald Coast, we are on Pensacola NAS at the Pensacola Lighthouse and Museum. And it's a pretty neat place. It's got 177 steps to the top. So did you bring your step counter?
No, I forgot my step counter.
Oh,
I'm
gosh.
so upset. We should go home and get it.
And she means that.
Yes.
So, well, I know it's 177 plus, because you're going to be going up on it.
Okay.
So this was built in 1859 for Pensacola Naval Aviation Station here. And it's pretty cool. So let's go in and take a look. All right, this is the Pensacola Lighthouse. Construction began in 1856. It was lit up in 1859 and is still in use today. The lighthouse replaced the original lighthouse built in 1824, the first lighthouse on the Gulf Coast and the tallest lighthouse on the Gulf Coast. Storing oil inside the tower was a fire hazard. Built in 1892, the oil house stored barrels of kerosene oil used to fuel the lamp at the top of the tower. The lean-to was constructed in 1894 to provide additional storage space. After the installation of electricity in 1939 made the kerosene lamp obsolete, these sheds were used to store other supplies, and the haulers were so happy. How are you? How are you? Yeah. This is the first keeper room before they built the duplex downstairs. So they'd stay here as they're needing the tower.
Wow, this is a small space.
Yeah, but that's all you needed for back then. Yeah, you probably had a bed, a couple beds in here, and that was it.
Without cooking.
Out on the fire, huh? 1859.
That would have been suited to live back then.
Shoot you a good old rabbit and squirrel. Yum, yum. Only 110 steps left, Paula.
Thanks for realizing. I'm not some shit about
It's not that bad, but the walls are literally sweating from the humidity, and the rails are wet.
And so in case you're wondering, what do you do if somebody coming down? He said just let the people coming down use the handrail, and the people going up should scoot to the middle.
And so each step is named, or not named, but they put a placard on it. And President Coolidge did placard 120, which is coming up.
Okay. Oh, here we go.
And press on.
That's his message. That's really cool.
Yep.
Yeah, so you can see these are have all been purchased.
Yeah.
And he said some of them have a little message on them.
Yeah. And that's from a long time ago. That one's not too long ago, but yeah.
Well, we need to press on.
We're pressing on. Almost there. Oh, look up.
That is a very cool view. Not of us.
There it is. And this thing is really beautifully painted. I mean, it's just white and black, but
Yeah.
inside, and some black, but it's very well kept.
What did he say about the show?
The what?
The show? Ghost Hunters?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. They got some harlot stuff here.
But they've stop. Not funny. They've been here twice to film, and I guess there's stories of huntings here, which I probably don't want to know about.
Yeah, you
Until
don't.
I leave. Okay, so we need to, oh my God.
We're there. Oh, and we got a view of the beach, and that's the Gulf of Mexico.
That is beautiful. Okay, are we to the top?
Yes, just
To the
about.
top, okay. So now the steps just got way more narrow. Oh, look at this, Bruce and Helen Davies.
Yeah.
Are those our friends?
Yeah.
That's so cool. Oh gosh, it's narrow too. To the top.
And there's the light up above you. It's still. You can go up there too. Oh, look, it's turning.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so that's cool. So, you want to go out here? Oh yeah, we can't go upstairs. So
Now there's 5 Coast Guard.
Oh, a little breezy.
yeah, it's nice.
Not too bad, though. So you can see Alabama to the right. And this is where the Blue Angels come flying in. There's a Blue Angel on the ground right there.
Yeah.
And on Wednesday mornings, except January through March, if you get out here, come in the back gate, you can see them fly around 10.
It's a little windy up here.
A little windy, but on a hot summer day, it'd be perfect.
Yeah, what a beautiful view, huh?
Beautiful view. And if you haven't been to Pensacola Beach, it's the whitest beaches in the world. I mean, it's like powdered donuts when you walk on them. Especially at night, I always call it powdered donuts. But a lot of history. Pensacola Pass right there.
Rich. Yeah, that is there.
Yeah. Fort Pickens on the other side. And we're coming up, you can see the Naval Museum right there. So this is Pensacola Pass, goes out into the Gulf, the Intracoastal Waterway right here. And that's Fort Pickens. And they had actually had Geronimo jailed there, or imprisoned for several years. So that'll be another video episode one day. So a lot of history here in Pensacola. So these are different types of lighting mechanisms from back in the day, from oil to candlelight, yeah.
Fires.
Yeah.
Good old electricity.
Yes. So this is the keeper's quarters, and they're the keeper of the lighthouse, and it was built in 1869, as we said before. It's actually a duplex. Each side of the house is nearly identical to the other. The house was primary living quarters for the keepers, assistant keepers, and their families until 1953, when the light station's last civilian retired, and 1890's addition to the north side of the keeper's quarters connects to the house to the lighthouse tower directly. All right, well, that's the end of this episode of Exploring the Emerald Coast. And I want to thank you for visiting the Pensacola NAS, Naval Aviation Museum. And until next time, keep exploring.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Exploring the Emerald Coast.
We hope you enjoyed discovering more about the incredible lifestyle here on the Emerald Coast.
Remember, if you're looking to make this paradise your home, reach out to us. We're here to help.
And a big thank you to our sponsor, John Scapin with Primary Residential Mortgage, for supporting the show.
Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share with your friends. Until next time, keep exploring.